Hey everyone, welcome to Pastors Unfiltered. My name is Tony, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, the Reverend, the Doctor, Adjunct Professor. Did you ever do judo or karate?
I did Kempo karate.
What was your belt?
I was a green belt when I
Green
stopped.
belt.
But, as our guest will admit, we did do a martial art. We're both black belts in wrestling, which has now proven by the UFC to be the most useful martial art to use in actual real fighting.
Preach it.
Wouldn't you say we're black belts in wrestling?
Higher.
I
Yeah.
got to talk to you about your wrestling career.
Okay.
So the other day I had a young gentleman doing some landscaping at the Seattle campus. Works for Anderson Lawn Care. So we contract Anderson Lawn Care, one of our sponsors. Huge shout out. Hit up Micah Anderson for all your lawn care needs and tell him Tony sent you. You're going to get 10% off your next service. You're welcome. And we use them for Seattle. And there was a gentleman there. His mom went to school with you.
High school?
High school.
Okay.
And he told me, he said, next time you go on the podcast, ask Pastor Brandon, why in high school did he wear wrestling shoes everywhere? Like she says you wore them all the time? Is that like a thing you did?
Who is his mom?
I don't know her name. I know his name.
What's his name?
I'll tell you offline. But yeah. Did you wear wrestling shoes?
Probably. Do you wear wrestling shoes a lot?
Just in the mat room. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
Well, there it is. Anyways, so
I would wear high tops all the time. It was in back then to wear high tops that were kind of loosely laced and you kind of slipped them on. But if I wore wrestling shoes, it was probably because I had a match that day and was supposed to be in uniform.
there it is. I know.
But
What a compelling.
I don't remember that.
Now that everyone's interested and still listening, welcome to Pastors Unfiltered, guys. We're so glad you guys are with us today. Huge shout out to our sponsors, like we had said, Anderson Lawn Care and also Logos Bible Software. Check them out. They just dropped their newest version of Logos, which I have on my phone and on my MacBook. It's pretty amazing. It's been great for studying.
Have you used the AI technology it has yet?
No, but I just got AI on my iPhone. It's terrifying.
Oh, you have the new phone?
No, it's an update. You can get it if you have iPhone, I think 15.
So what is terrifying about it?
I think it knows everything. I think it knows everything about me, and I don't know all that stuff about me.
Have you seen the AI video where it has our new president, Trump, and all of these former presidents in a rock band type thing?
I would love
and
to see
AI
that.
put it all together and made this really cool video. It's pretty awesome.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so let's address the elephant or donkey in the room. What are the Republicans? Are they elephants or donkeys? Which ones are they?
They're elephants.
Oh, they act like donkeys.
Well,
Anyways,
don't we want to? The first elephant that we're going to talk about in the room is Tony and I recorded a live podcast. And one of the mottos we have at Venture is that everything is an experiment.
everything.
And Tony, I don't think us live worked.
Listen, it worked. It will work. It was the wrong setting. So we tried it at the 20th birthday party, which amazing. One of the best nights ever.
I do want to talk about the 20th party at some point.
And we were doing a live podcast while everyone was walking into the room. So imagine 400 people at once coming into the room, shuffling chairs. And the worst part, no one listened to us.
Tony was so insulted that no one was listening.
I was honestly getting angry. I was like, "Why? I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. No one's listening."
The whole weekend, because everything has really been gearing up for this 20th birthday. We had been in planning meetings for a year for everything that went on. And by the time the weekend came around, I got to be honest, my anxiety was through the roof. So I was anxious all morning, especially the third service that went a little bit longer than it was supposed to. And so and then the big dinner and then having to do a podcast beforehand.
I know.
My head was in all kinds of different spaces.
Let's talk about, before we talk everything else, Sunday. Sunday, we had the 20th anniversary of Venture.
We also had the grand opening of our Seattle building.
We had the grand opening of Seattle. We had the 20th dinner, birthday dinner, which was amazing. We saw Brandon Greenwald's documentary. Have we dropped that online yet?
Nope, not yet.
Okay.
By the time you hear this podcast, it will be available online. There's a link that is going out first to people that were on our wait list that weren't able to get into the dinner, and we're going to allow them to watch it first. What did you think of the documentary?
I mean, I thought it was amazing. I mean, a guy made this in our church that works with us when you would feel like this is like professional YouTube level stuff. Like it was awesome. I thought it was good. I love how the documentary, we'd have all these spiritual moments and then it'd always be like, and then Morgan was fixing something and and a car crashing in the building.
And then a random barista thought Morgan was my dad.
And then, okay, so remind me, isn't that now that barista stand a bikini barista stand? It didn't used to be.
It wasn't when we would go there all the
I remember.
time.
I would go.
I think it has gone through several different variations of ownership.
Could you imagine if we still worked there and we had to go get coffee? I would.
We haven't introduced our guest yet, but we keep asking him questions. What did you think? Did you enjoy the documentary?
Documentary was great. Good. Yeah, it was really good.
What did you think about the Easter egg hunt video that we almost showed as a promo for the church?
It was, I think it was interesting. I'll be honest, what I was the most surprised with, Sunday morning, you look great in a suit. And that's not even me sucking up. That's not me.
You don't need to suck up. You don't work for him.
You looked like, I was like,
yep.
You know, sometimes people don't wear things because they just don't look good on them. So I'm used to you wearing a jersey or a whatever, I don't know, something. And I saw you in a suit and I thought, you look pretty good. Like, I think that should be the new look. Would you do every Sunday?
I will say this about suits. They're way easier than having to think of something 100%. Different to wear every day. 100%. When you have 4 or 5 suits and you just wear them all the time. If suits became in again for pastors to preach from, I would gladly wear a suit at this point.
Right now,
in my
the
life.
homeless look is very in.
Really?
Oh, go look at all the pastors in LA. They look like they just woke up.
Yeah, well, I think I'm in line with that. I think I would fit in well with the homeless look.
If it was up to me, I would wear shorts, a t-shirt, and a hat every single day. I would never wear anything else. Unfortunately, my wife doesn't let me out of the house. What happened with that suit that I wore, I was texting Morgan and Christian. I was thinking, hey, I'm thinking about wearing Venture swag tomorrow morning. What do you guys think if I wore a Venture hat, sweatshirt, whatever? What are you guys thinking about wearing? And 2 minutes after I sent it, I accidentally asked my wife what she thought. And I texted them back and said, never mind, I'm wearing a sport coat.
You look great. You look great.
Well, thanks.
Kai Van Leuven, welcome to the podcast, man. I'm glad you're with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me back on.
Thank you for being here all the way from the far land of Hawaii. Is that how they say it over there? I've never been.
I think that's from a South Park episode.
We
I wasn't
for
saying
what
for a
it's
long
worth,
time, man.
We miss seeing the Van Leuvens.
We really do.
Yeah, it's Halloween trunk or treat. We were here. Okay, that was we showed up 2 a.m. that morning, came to trunk or treat here, and it was the perfect representation of how I feel about living in Washington.
Hey, it has not rained here in a year.
Hold on.
You brought the rain with you.
Hold on. It was seeing all these people that I love, all these people that I just want to embrace and talk to, and in the church, and then the worst weather. I mean, freezing cold, rain pouring down, and I'm like, yeah, this. If you were to summarize how I feel about Washington, this is it right here in this one evening.
I think that's actually a great description because I will say all the people that I love are here for the most part. And then I don't love the weather. So I have had to choose, which we're believing you're going to choose eventually someday too, which is the people are more important than the weather because I can travel to the weather on occasion.
That ain't true, man. Forget them people. I'm out. If God didn't call me to Seattle, I'd be with Kai. I would be Palm Springs.
Tony, you could not function without me in your life.
Oh, I would do just fine.
No, you couldn't.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Your wife could not function without Rachel Winfield in her life.
Actually, that is probably true. Okay, so let's address a couple things because we have a lot of content with Kai I want to get through. We have three things we need to cover in the first segment here. Number one, the Faithful 200. I don't know what happened, but in the last 3 weeks, they have become louder and louder and louder.
Oh, they want T-shirts.
They want T-shirts. Jalen Kuhn said, I want a shirt with Brandon and Tony's face on it. And I said,
No, he doesn't.
No, he said
he would never wear that.
He would wear it. He said he'd wear it. We have I'm not exaggeration, about 10 to 15 text messages every week. Hey, I'm part of the Faithful 200. We got a beautiful email about the Faithful 200 from a gal who loves our podcast.
I would say I'm the most faithful.
Are you in the club
of the Faithful 200?
Prove it.
And you know what? I even brought receipts.
Take a picture.
We got receipts here of how I am the most faithful of the Faithful 200.
Got a notepad, folks.
First,
let's hear it.
Don't be looking at my notes, Tony. Okay. First, I come into this a little bothered. Okay. A little bothered with Brandon specifically.
That's right.
Because I forgot we were recording?
No. Okay. I didn't think that was going to make it on this, but that's okay.
It's unfiltered.
I am listening to a Huskies game.
Yeah.
The Huskies versus Michigan. This shows people my dedication to being one of the Faithful 200. And I'm listening to the game, and the Dogs just march out to a lead, right? They're up. I think they're up 14-0. And then all of a sudden, Michigan starts running the ball. They go up 17-0. And I say, you know what? I watched the national championship the year before. I watched them just run the ball the whole time.
Yep.
I'm turning this off, and I'm going to turn it to something maybe a little more uplifting.
Joyce Meyer on TBN.
Pastors Unfiltered on YouTube.
I turned it on to Pastors Unfiltered on YouTube. I became familiar with the guy by the name of Richard Vigner.
Oh, legend. Living legend.
Tony's mentor.
He is.
Listened to the whole thing and missed the end of an amazing Husky comeback. I've been a diehard Dog my whole life.
So that's why you're mad at me?
Yeah.
Why are you mad at
If
him?
you never started this podcast, I would have listened to a beautiful Husky win. Okay, that's reason number one
of
why
the
I
4
am.
wins this season. What are they at?
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good one.
Okay.
Number two of why I'm the most faithful. The people who are the most faithful run their comments by me first before they post them.
Whoa.
In the comment section. So
what?
We have a comment section?
The person
Are you the president?
The person who may or may not have called Tony a flaming liberal ran that comment by me first.
Dude,
before
I'm
posting
gonna
it.
address that, by the way. That's so dumb.
Tony wants
me
to
out,
know.
man.
So you gave the person permission to refer to Tony that way?
People, PB, I'm so upset with you. People legit think, oh, this guy moved to Seattle. He's a lib. Leave me alone.
I wasn't the person that
Aren't
ran
you
it
the one
by
that
him.
called me a flaming lib and then it spread like wildfire? And then I look on Facebook. I haven't been on social media in months. I open it up and I'm being tagged as a liberal.
It was rhetoric
What
for
the
the point
heck?
of exaggeraation. I was saying, people think I'm some staunch right-wing conservative and you're a flaming
You
liberal.
said you were. I'm not.
I am not a
liberal.
staunch right-wing
You're not staunch. You're just conservative. Okay, so he ran the comment by you.
He did. He ran the comment.
Bring me into this.
And he said he's going to post it. And I'm like,
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know if that's how you feel. So
any 5-star review, he can say whatever he wants.
he did give you a 5-star review?
Yep.
Oh, is he the one that said...
You're thinking of somebody else.
I don't know.
You're
There's
thinking
the
of
review that called me a liberal. There's the Facebook comment that called me a liberal, which then turned into... Anyways. Okay, so that's why you think you're a fan? Because you filter...
Well, he said the word receipt. I expected a gift from him,
PB,
and then there'd be the receipt proving he bought it.
Do we have to tell him? PB, Gen Z says receipts as a term when they're trying to explain to you, I have notes.
Is that true?
Facts.
Okay, I'm looking at all the Gen
And they
Z.
also say facts,
Israel's
right?
not paying
Israel,
attention.
Parker, Judah's
Parker's
got
not
headphones on.
agreeing. Judah's not sure.
Parker, how would you define receipts?
Something that
I got the receipts.
you're given after you purchase something?
The facts. My guy, you're a Gen Xer. So, okay. Well, so that's why you think you're a fan or the number one? Who's the number one?
I'm the most devout.
We're not going to say any names because we don't want to exclude anyone. We don't want anyone to feel excluded. The gal who sent you and I that beautiful, touching email, she's number one. Also, who else is number one is anyone who's willing to sponsor this podcast. They can be number one right here.
Hey, there's one particular gal in the church. Anytime I ever post anything on social media, instead of saying thumbs up or anything, she writes Raiders roll. That's our number one fan.
Yeah. Okay. So that's great. So Kai, you're not the number one fan, but thank you for being the president of the fan club, I guess. I want to address an issue on the podcast. So Faithful 200, I want you to listen close right now. Stop what you're doing. If you're walking your dog, attending to your child, neglect them. Listen to this for a moment. Pastor Brandon and I have been having some civil disputes about the buttons on the podcast.
Oh, here we go.
We're going to take a poll and we're going to leave it open for a week. And I will honor the results. Who do I sound like?
I will honor the results.
I'll honor the results. He ain't never said that. Trump. He ain't never said that. I vote we no longer have the stinking buttons. They're annoying. They're obnoxious. We'll keep the Raiders roll. It's iconic, whatever. I'm done with the buttons. The ka-ching for no reason. Hey, man, my wife's pregnant. Ka-ching. Stop it. It's not Judah. I'm not upset with Judah. I'm upset with the board that we have.
Okay, so
I'm done with the buttons.
I'm on the other side. I actually think the sound effects are amusing and kind of are part of our shtick. So that's what we want to know. We thought rather than arbitrarily decide Tony's in charge, getting rid of the buttons, we will allow you, the Faithful 200, to decide if you want Judah to still be able to participate by pushing the buttons.
Does Joe Rogan have buttons?
So
does Marty Solomon have buttons?
So we'll go back to them in a second. So Tony and I are going to post on our own social media and the Pastors Unfiltered social media a poll.
Okay.
Keep the buttons, get rid of the buttons. So it's up to you. Whatever you vote for is what we will do. But I am curious, do you want to endorse pro button or anti button?
I didn't know my endorsement was, but I guess I am the number one fan.
You are the number one fan.
So I'm going to go pro button.
All right.
I've always thought the buttons are kind of fun.
People are losing their minds.
I like the ching button. That's the number one for me.
Stop pushing the button, Judah. Chill.
So the reason that, why doesn't Joe Rogan use buttons? Joe Rogan gets paid $40 million a year from Spotify to do his podcast.
Name one podcast that uses buttons that people love to listen to. It is, you know what? Here, let me tell you why I don't like it, guys, other than sound like just an old man. It just takes away from the richness of the conversation. You could be in the middle of and then I found the Lord, and I was smoking weed, shooting up heroin, ka-ching! And then it just disrupts the intimacy of the conversation, man. And then my child professed Jesus, and a demon flew out of their mouth.
Raiders roll.
Raiders roll.
Well, I will say, I'm a populist. So whatever the people want, I'm for the people. Just like our elections.
Gosh. Let's talk about it. Let's get it over with because I want to talk about Mormons.
America speaks. Whatever America wants. Who America votes for, their president. America wants buttons. They get buttons.
So you and I both were glued to our television sets, texting each other last night. What a night. What a night. I'm for the record. People don't call me a lib. I am a true centrist. I truly could not determine who I wanted to vote for until about the final 48 hours. I said, all right, I've made my decision. I don't care who it
was. Joe Rogan that pushed you over the edge.
Joe Rogan didn't. It was Donald Trump bringing up Bryson DeChambeau in his victory speech. I was like, we've lost it. So, obviously,
I don't know who that is.
I don't know who that is.
He's the number one golfer in the world.
Oh.
And
I don't know what a receipt is, apparently.
Okay, so check this out. We're watching. We all know all the East Coast states. Obviously, we're going to go red immediately. This happens every year, every election. But the way he was winning county after county. And I said it on the record. I said, the Arab Americans, we are the most undecided voters right now. Whoever can win our vote will win presidency. I made it. It was a very bold statement. Donald Trump spent a few days in Dearborn, Michigan, and all of Michigan, won over the Arab vote because all we want.
They endorsed him.
They endorsed him. They truly did. Everyone is just, they're going to hear lip service to get a vote, but we want peace. We want peace in the Middle East. Believe it or not, we do. He won over the Arabs. He won over the Muslims. He won over the Latinos.
He also, by the way, got the highest percentage of Jewish vote that any Republican has ever gotten.
The Jews, he got them all. And so I'm watching him win county by county, and Kamala is just slipping state by state by state. It was a landslide win. It just was. Like him or hate him, he won. Fair and square.
Obviously, I'm excited about the result. The thing that I'm most excited about the result is it was an emphatic result. I think if it was a toss-up all the way to the end, like it was going to take another week or two to finalize the election, one person won the Electoral College, the other one won the popular vote. There's just going to be all of these conversations. But when you have an emphatic election winner, basically those that didn't vote for this person just have to accept that America has spoken.
America spoke. They did.
And there's many times in my lifetime we've had presidents that I didn't vote for, but they won emphatically. And you have to accept it. And it kind of goes back to what we talked about on our podcast last week. And my challenge is that part of growing up is learning disappointment and how you react when you don't win or you don't get what you want. I think says way more about your character than how you react when you actually get what you want. And so I'm hoping that this begins the process of overall America mellowing out. I will say this, no matter where you're at politically, after these next 4 years, we've put a period on Trump, Clinton, Obama, just that whole group of politicians. It'll be a whole new wave in 4 years.
You know what my dad said last night? This is Pastor's Unfiltered. He called me. My father's over 50. So I hear when you turn 50, there's a special exam you have to do with the doctor.
Yes.
My dad said, it feels like that exam. He said, let's just get it over with. Just, no one, I'm not enjoying this. You're not enjoying this. Let's just do this. I will say this, just to shepherd our people for a moment, regardless where you stand on this, he is chosen president. Let's pray for him, honor him like we would any other president, and allow him, you don't want the president of the United States to fail. You want him to win. Let him win. Let him prove he can fix the economy. Let him prove what he has said he could do. We should desire this for any of the presidents. If it was Kamala or Trump, we should desire for their success.
Both of them, she was incredibly gracious in defeat. I listened to her.
She was great.
I think she should be honored for that because, again, when he lost 4 years ago, you wouldn't say he was gracious. But I would also say Trump was really gracious in victory, too, was very inclusive, wanted everybody to join in. And I would say this, that if in 4 years you're a server and you're not paying tips, he followed through on what he promised. If in the next 4 years the economy really does turn around, inflation drops, gas prices drop, stock market stays healthy, interest rates allow people to buy houses again, give him credit.
And if we are in zero actual wars or proxy wars, I'll give him credit. I truly will. Because I don't want to go to war. No one wants to go to war. It costs us a lot of money. And men who don't need to go fight those battles, and women. So, all right, should we move on? He won. Trump's president. Here
This
we
is
go.
the longest introduction we've ever had.
All the Christian.
So now we have 5
conservatives
minutes
can
of
chill on
interviews with Kai.
Gosh, thank God I'm not on social media right now. All right,
So-
Kai.
We're excited to have Kai Van Leuven here with us. Kai was on an episode of Pastors Unfiltered probably about a year ago.
I would think so. Yeah.
And Kai talked about his journey from being about as deep into Mormonism as a person could deeply be into it to the journey to finding faith in Jesus. He has subsequently, since then, started a podcast. What is it called?
Jesus for Mormons.
And it's way more popular than our podcast,
It's blown up.
but we at least get the credit for we found it. We discovered him.
Wow.
We discovered this podcasting genius.
We have faithful 200. You probably have a faithful 1,000.
I don't. But the cool thing about it is that Di and I get to work together, which I never worked with Di before this. I guess I'll just go on the record. So Di and I had no experience. Brandon suggested, hey, you and Di should do a podcast together.
Kinda.
Yeah, it has a ring to it.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't know her at all. So we sat down and talked. I'll tell you, everyone around here is like, oh, Di's so amazing. She's so great. She's so this. She's so and I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you know, she's like one of the founding pastors, and her husband might be your boss, and she might be your boss too, you know. Dude, she's awesome. Di is amazing. And it's not just like when we record, it's like, Di, what do you think about this? What, you know, I ask her off camera, ask her different things, and I'm like, oh, I kind of get why everyone says
She's a top 3 human.
she's
She is.
great.
She just is.
She's awesome. And so she's been super gracious in just kind of having me, someone who knows nothing about podcasting, just try to put together this very missional thing of trying to reach Mormons and trying to reach them. I have kind of a niche that I don't know how I think we're being successful at reaching, which is people who have left the Mormon church, who have gone like atheist, agnostic, and we're trying to bring them in to have them be Christian.
Now, my
and
wife-
experience Christianity.
My wife, Ariel, has seen this side of TikTok. Just like do you know right now there's a trending side of TikTok of all these people who have left Bethel Church in Reading, and it's all like the crazy, weird, occultish thing they had to, according to them. But anyways, this is a huge group of people right now.
Yeah. It's like my whole generation is leaving the church.
Huh.
And what I don't like, I guess I'll be as candid as I can be, is the channels that they go to are non-believing, atheist, agnostic, nihilistic. I mean, and you guys know me, you know that that's where I went.
Yeah,
And
people
so I-
tend to go from one side, swing the pendulum totally to the other side.
I'm drinking Mountain Dew.
No, like I'm leaving my 5 kids and running off with whoever. Like, I mean, it's not a like pretty scenario. I mean, it's like, all joking aside, it's actually a really like harsh reality of people leaving. And it's not just like, oh, I stopped going to church on Sunday. It's like, I'm questioning my reality. And so I think that that's a really sad, dark place that Di and I are at least trying to speak to. And it's funny. I started recording it with Di. I started recording like an episode, right? And I'm still pretty angry at the beginning of a lot of these episodes. And then by like episode 10, I'm like, gosh, I don't feel as angry with the church anymore. Like, I'm just like, I've kind of healed that part of my
It's awesome.
of my life.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just want people to start to kind of experience that. Like you talk about your world, like the Arab world, right? Like the people within that that you have a heart for. And I'm kind
the
of
bald
in the same
world.
Them too. Bruce, Vin,
Morgan.
Morgan. Yeah.
No, but I look at that world and I'm just kind of like, it's dark.
Yeah.
And even the people that are the most influential in the ex-Mormon world, they don't have any answers.
They're just hurt.
They don't have any, like, they're not leading people. They might be able to say, hey, the Mormon church is messed up and these are the problems that they've perpetuated over 200 years, but they don't have an answer for people healing. And I think that's really the whole idea behind our podcast is, well, what could an answer be for these people? I believe that that's Jesus.
Yeah.
And as this podcast has gone on, you know, putting something on YouTube is terrifying. And it's, you know, you start to kind of navigate it a little bit. But yeah, I just want that to be something for people where they say, oh, here's this guy. He did it. He tried Christianity even after coming and being really nihilistic and angry. You know, he tried it and experienced a lot of healing in that.
So why do you think the podcast grew so quickly?
I would say just when he's kind of sharing his journey, one of the things that I've enjoyed about it is I think it's informative. I mean, you learn a lot of behind the scenes, maybe Mormon secrets that you wouldn't normally know, but I would say it's very hopeful.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I would say like there are, like I said, there are channels that people go to, but man, you just get done listening to them. I'll just call out the main channel, the Mormon Stories podcast. You listen to it, you listen to about 6 episodes, and you're like, yeah, like religion's trying to trick you, and no one has good intentions, and like, how can you listen to that for a long period of time?
I know once you've listened to a few, okay, I'm convinced. I don't need to be any more convinced. It's just going to upset me more.
Yeah, you're readdressing trauma that you've existed or that you've already dealt with in some way.
You're perpetuating the anger.
Yeah, you're perpetuating the anger. And so we don't really want it to be that way. Like, we want it to be positive.
Yeah.
We want it to be uplifting. And it's been really cool. It's been surprisingly therapeutic. I thought I was always going to be jaded. I thought I was always just going to have a little bit in me that was, you know, a little, I don't like Mormons. I don't like, you know, like just resentful towards whatever, my upbringing towards the church. And man, it's amazing how when you tell your story and you ask God to heal you, how that can change things in your life.
How long has it been since you were a part of the Mormon church? We going on like 3 years, 4 years?
Yeah, 3 years. Yep.
So then it's probably been 2 years that you've been serving Jesus?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you drank coffee yet?
Oh, yeah.
What do you think?
I've drinking, you know, I don't like it.
I don't like it either. I think it tastes terrible.
But I'll tell you, it makes me super anxious. That's why I don't drink it. I kind of like the feeling, you know. I've never really tried drugs, so that's kind of the closest maybe I'm gonna get. But I just don't like how anxious it makes me.
You
Like
get jittery.
Yeah, and it makes me like
Cole
want
Hasty's like that too.
to stay up at night and be like, what's gonna happen now? You know.
Are you a big coffee guy?
Yeah, but not because I want to be. I need it to keep me awake. I take pre-workout in the mornings, so then by 8 a.m. I need my cup of coffee to keep going. I don't care.
There you have it. Tony
Yeah.
asked him drop that he's up early working out.
I was up at 4.
You're an animal, Tony.
I'm not an animal. I'm overweight.
Hey, watching the documentary, seeing every time they would do flashbacks of me 5-10 years ago, my son-in-law was sitting next to me and he must have said 20 times, wow, you were skinny. Wow, you were skinny.
That just hurts.
Whoa. I was like, got it.
Oh. Anywho.
Okay, I want to know this about, have you watched the TV show Real Lives of Mormon Wives?
I've watched it. That is not my. So I'm not a TV person. Okay, I'll kind of give myself a little out. I'm not a TV person. It was awful. Like, it was terrible. Like, I'm like, no offense to all you fans, but these people are not.
Is that really the way that Mormon wives are?
I don't think so at all. I think it's, and
I mean, you had a Mormon wife.
yeah.
She's still your wife. She's now a Christian wife, but was she this? Was she?
I've had a couple. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry, polygamy crack there. No, but I think, I think it wants to represent, it's just like all reality TV, right? It's not real reality, right? And it wants to kind of pick the hero and pick the goat. And no, I don't know any Mormons that are that way. Any Mormon wives that are that way. I think of the sweet, but maybe I'm going to an older generation, the sweet Mormon wife that would come and bake you a dish after your wife gave birth, or, that's kind of when I think of Mormon wives. I don't think of them
So your
getting
wife
plastic surgery, or
your wife was not watching before this TV show became a big deal. She wasn't watching the TikTok mom talk thing they did.
she wasn't. And I don't get that whole thing anyways. Like, okay, they're dancing. Okay, yeah. People dance. I don't think that should make you famous.
There's an entire social media platform that's all the rage for Gen Z. All you do is you dance terribly for 30 seconds and post it, and 1 million people watch it, and then you don't ever have to work.
Yeah.
Do you watch, out of curious? So Parker is the only gal that's in the room while we're recording. I'm just curious. Do you watch The Real Lives of Mormon Wives?
Ariel did.
Okay. Well, I expect that because Ariel likes trashy shows.
She's been drinking a protein shake with soda in it ever since. Like a Diet Dr. Pepper with protein, because they all do it on there.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
Well, so they have to follow these dogmatic rules, right? So you would say in the Mormon world, the word of wisdom, which is Doctrine and Covenants 89. So they would talk about, like, that's where it tells you that you can't, drink hot drinks, which would be tea and coffee, alcohol, and then they've expanded that to be
So you can
drugs.
drink cold caffeine.
No, then they've kind of expanded it to be no tea, no coffee, no black, or
But
it gets really
Legalistic.
like legalistic, like Mosaic law type thing, which is kind of what that show shows, right? Like, these gals are getting plastic surgery and they're getting high while taking the, laughing gas. It's like, wait, you can't drink coffee, but okay. So and I think it's just a product of, like, people obeying maybe the letter of the law, right? Like, these, like, true believing Mormons obeying the letter of the law, but, like, what does that really have to do with what type of person you are at the end of the day? And I think if you're kind of a catty person and your husband really isn't as they were portrayed, not like a great person, I don't know how much not drinking coffee does for you at the end of the day. So,
What is the reason you're not allowed to drink coffee?
okay, so I said it real
Besides,
quick.
it's terrible. But besides that,
Okay, so DNC 89. So I'm going to tell you something about Mormon history, just real quick.
so really quick for
There
people
is-
like Tony, what does DNC mean?
Okay, Doctrine and Covenants.
Okay,
So there used to be,
I thought it was Democratic National Convention.
that'd be DNC, but that is actually kind of close. Okay, so think of it this way. Joseph Smith,
Okay,
a guy that probably all of us have heard of at least. Joseph Smith did, like, sermons, let's say. Let's really break this down. I know if you're Mormon, you might be like, that's a little clunky. But let's just say he did sermons. They wrote them down, and it was like God said it himself. That's what DNC is. So Doctrine and Covenants is literally like
a series
thus-
of his sermons.
Thus saith the Lord this.
Okay,
Right? And Mormons hold that as being like literal scripture. Like, they would say it's even more like pure than like the Bible or even like the Book of Mormon, because it came from a prophet. Like, that's what level. Tony's nodding his head in agreement here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
so he said you can't drink coffee. I want to know why. Why did he say you can't drink coffee?
Okay, so you have to, because of the Lord. No, so during the time, there was like a temperance movement that was like sweeping through the country. So
Sure.
this is not the
like
Mormon.
during Prohibition.
Well, pre that, because
Okay.
this would have been like 1830s-ish, maybe early 1840s. So he received this revelation because people were like drinking alcohol all the time. Like all the time. Like you'd wake up in the morning, you'd drink hard alcohol, right? And so there was kind of this problem. So there was this temperance movement of like, hey, stop consuming, these certain things. So he came up with this revelation, Doctrine and Covenants, 89, section 89. So you'd look like, 1 through, there's 138. You'd look in there and like, oh, this is where we get this from. And it says in there, oh man, you're putting me on the spot. Hot drinks are not for the belly, but for the body, maybe. And it's just like saying, and then they later define that as tea and coffee. Like you can't drink tea, you can't drink coffee.
Hot chocolate, okay.
Hot chocolate's okay. Hot soda, I don't know.
Yes.
If you do that, is okay. So it doesn't, it's making less and less and less sense as time goes on. And it used to be like, hey, I'm faithful and I'm just going to follow the prophet, as they say, right? And I don't know, it's never really worked out to be like, yeah, this is something that we actually should be doing for any health benefits. And really, on the opposite, there is this heavy consumption of soda. So like here in the Northwest, we have, you can go to a coffee stand. There they have soda stands where they'll mix your little soda drinks. So let's say you want a half Dr. Pepper and a half Pepsi. They may call that this is going to be a funny joke for you Mormons out there, the soaker. And, yeah, anyways. And so you may
don't
say,
they own PepsiCo?
if you get that joke, that's a good joke.
Oh, dude, I think I just got that joke. Oh,
That's a great joke.
Jesus.
So anyways,
Purify my mind, Lord.
purify your mind.
So do they own PepsiCo, though?
Okay. Well, they own a crap load of everything else. So their portfolio's like $240 I'm using a B here, $1 billion. So they have all this money, all these investments. They don't believe in this thing called, I don't have a hard word with this, church transparency. Yeah, they don't believe in that. So you don't know how much they owe. So the whole thing came out years ago. There's a whistleblower who said, hey, the church has all these assets. They turned it into the IRS and they got sued. The church lost it, and they had to pay for, they had like 20 some odd shell companies that covered up how much investments they have, which is just wild stuff.
Like your construction company.
I bought a building one day I had to create a shell company to get for the church. I'm curious. So in our world, like people would never take what we say as dogmatic.
No, they argue us.
Let's prove it right now. Tony, if everybody just took whatever you said as gospel, what is something that everyone would do?
That's a great question.
I'll tell you, for me, there would be no Oregon Duck fans in the world.
Yeah. Oh, man. They'd probably eat at Chick-fil-A every day of the week, except Sunday.
I already do.
Gospel. So you have this disgruntled generation who's walking away saying, wait, why do I believe this? Also, it's like secondhand, which has been the argument people have with me as a believer of Christ. People say, you believe a book that's all secondhand, that has been penned by flawed men through secondhand account. What would you say to that?
I would say it goes actually a lot deeper than that. So when you grew up in the Mormon church, you kind of get an anti-Christian perspective on things. So you grow up being like, well, the Book of Mormon is so much higher than the Bible, and this and this and this and this and this why. So you're kind of like given ammunition for discrediting Christianity. So that's why when people are like, oh, well, why don't you just switch? Like, why don't people just, oh, I'm not Mormon today and I'm going to go to Christianity tomorrow.
It's less than.
Well, it's less than, and you already have all of this anti-Christian rhetoric that you may have been taught that on your mission. You may have been taught that growing up. And so you discount Christianity really because you're like, well, I've already been taught all of these things about it that make it seem like it's not true. And so these people go just, like I said, they go to atheism, they go to agnostic, and I'm not throwing stones. Believe you me, I went there.
Yeah.
And you guys both experienced the other side of me going there. And you know, the anger and the like, oh, I don't believe anything you guys are saying.
You were still nice, though. I'll give you credit. You were always kind.
I was nicer to you than I was to Brandon.
That's true.
Hey, he has an entire episode where he tells the story about
Isn't it
why he hated
why
Brandon
I hate
Beals.
Brandon?
Yes.
Why I hated Brandon?
I couldn't believe you literally told everybody in your famous podcast world how I said that friend of yours, his brother, was one of the worst employees I ever had. It's like I wanted to keep that a secret, but
Sky,
all right,
where do you
I said
see the podcast going from here? Obviously, you guys are growing. Where do you see it evolving into? What's it becoming for you guys?
Yeah, so I want to tell my story. Like, that's where I see it going. I do not see myself becoming a podcaster. I do not see myself becoming an influencer. That's never been my intention. I don't want it to be my job.
So this is more like a project.
This is a project.
Yeah.
I've called myself to a 2-year mission for all you Mormons out there. I've called myself to a 2-year mission. I'm going to tell my story. I hope that Die will continue to be my ride or die, person on this.
no pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Oh, that was a pun. But yeah, I'm not looking to work at a church, just so that you guys know.
I can't
I'm
afford
just
If you volunteer, you're hired.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not looking for anything like that. I'm just looking to put it out there.
Cool.
Have people take from it what they will. I hope that it starts people at least trying. I want them to just experiment with it, with mainstream Christianity, not with what they've heard, not with what they've maybe been told by the church, but just to come in and just say, experience it, even bring their baggage, sit down with somebody if you feel so inclined, and talk about it. And that's really my ultimate goal is
Love it.
2 years, 104 episodes, and then we're done.
There's a powerful scripture that says, taste and see that the Lord is good. And I quote that all the time to people that are highly skeptical about faith. And I just say, why don't you just shrug your shoulders and give it a shot? Give God an opportunity to meet you where you're at, and you'll be shocked at how often he will. So I think your podcast is a great opportunity for people. All right, I'm going to listen. I'll shrug my shoulders and try this Christianity, faith in Jesus thing. See what happens.
Yeah.
Will you remind everyone listening today, title of it and where to find your podcast?
Yeah, so it's Jesus for Mormons. And you can find it on YouTube. I really want to be in the YouTube world because I think that's where most of the discussion is happening with post-Mormons.
Yep.
And yeah, if it's something that you could share, it's shareable. But I'm not really that filtered on it. I say exactly how I feel about the church, and so I think that that can be kind of harsh a little bit sometimes, but it's a harsh reality. Like, as I drove up here today, I thought of all of the people who have left the church and how their lives are a train wreck.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can I just have this amazing experience in a local church and then just be like, all right, you guys, I'm going to go dark on religion. I just don't think that's really what I'm supposed to do. And so I'm going to just put it out there, and hopefully people, hopefully it will resonate with a few people.
Have you had, because your family, long history of Mormonism in your family, I mean, is it, you either go back Joseph Smith or Brigham Young? Which one is it?
Both.
Both, okay. So, I mean, you're about as Mormon as a person can be. Have you had pushback from your family on the podcast?
I have had pushback from, I had an uncle reach out to me. I'm not going to put him on blast, but I did. I have a lot of uncles, so it could not be you. That's been really hard, but I think that I've already left the faith, so it's kind of like, I mean, now it's just kind of like I'm the anti-Mormon uncle, and I'll take it with what it is. My family still loves me. I'm not throwing my family under the bus. That's not really my deal. But yeah, that's been really hard. I think it's hard for us to talk about faith.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is you still had good parents. Mom and dad loved you, did a great job taking care of you, raising you, still love your siblings. You not being a Mormon any longer doesn't reflect on you judging them for their parenting or anything.
Out of curiosity, just because we got to kind of wind down soon, what is your marriage like now, both of you as followers of Christ versus we were Mormons?
Yeah. Well, I hope this is a wind down question. I think me and my wife were pretty disconnected when we were both in the Mormon church. I was very hardcore. She was very lukewarm. And I think that us not being united created a lot of problems in our marriage. And listen, our marriage is good. It's not perfect. And I'm not going to come on here and say, wow, my life was this awful wretch and now it's perfect because of, this. But I do think that being aligned in faith, I think is really important and really healthy for families. It's been really important and healthy for us. And I think we're just like every other marriage where we are still working through, two people trying to communicate in a positive way. But I do think it's help for us to, unite in that way. And I'm just super grateful for that. I'm super grateful for the local church. The local church has been awesome for me. And I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you putting me on this platform. And I have one thing I need to say.
Say it.
Are you ready?
You got it.
So I know that a lot of pastors listen to this podcast that you guys, you've had them on. And I just think it's important to say, people who are leaving the Mormon church right now, they don't need a doctrinal approach of why they were wrong. They need Jesus to heal them. Just period. They don't need, because they're already leaving because of doctrinal issues or social issues where the church has been wrong or whatever. They're already leaving for that reason. They need to be healed. When they're in your church, they just need Jesus in their life, healing them and them moving forward in a positive way.
Just need to encounter Christ. Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So
that's a great,
Well, let me tell you what I'm hoping happens for your future with this podcast. I'm for anything that brings your family back to Seattle. That's what I want.
That's very hopeful.
That's Kai, it's really cool to see God just working through you, your podcast, the favor you have on it, the people it's reaching. I know we didn't even have time to talk about all the people that probably have already reached out, the feedback you guys have received. And it's cool, man. I'm excited to see in a year what that, so 1 year, it will be a year old, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be halfway through your mission.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it, Kai. We'll see. We'll come to Hawaii. We'll do a podcast there.
There we go.
That one I'd be willing to do live.
We'll do that one live.
From the beach.
Hey, so Faithful 200, we are toying around this idea. We're going to release it a little later. We do want to, at some point soon, we're going to do a live recording, but not with 400 people trying to find their chairs and where to sit, but a true one-night recording with you guys. We'd love to see you there. We're going to release that information later.
And don't forget the poll that will be posted on Friday once this drops.
Oh, I'm so excited to I don't know, man. After this week's election, I don't want to make any promises. You never know what's going to happen now. Hey, thanks so much for listening. Don't forget, give us 5 stars on Spotify, Apple. Leave us a review. Also, check out Jesus
For Mormons.
Find them on YouTube as well. Subscribe, share it with people, engage with us. We love your feedback. Don't forget, if you have positive feedback, questions, comments, podcast at ourventure.church. If you have negative feedback, morgan.b@ourventure.church. He would love your feedback. We love you guys. Don't forget,
Jesus is the hope of the world. Let's make him famous.
Raiders roll. Hit the button, Judah.
Raiders roll.
Cool.